Well, the JSE remaining firm amid mixed global peers as investors assessing developments in the Middle East. At the same time, our beloved currency, the rand, still weak against the US dollar. Well, for this morning's market update, I'm joined by Vincent Masoloke from Citadel Investment Services. Good morning, Vincent. It seems the local market was not affected by the events that we've seen unfolding in the Middle East as yet. Perhaps it's too early. Can you just tell us about the reaction of other global markets?
Good morning, Dan, and good morning to your viewers. Excuse my voice this morning. The past week, the Chinese government announced an aggressive stimulus measure, and as a result, the Chinese and Hong Kong stock exchanges rallied, and then their 10-cent holdings was up 5.7% in Hong Kong. And because of that, Naspers and Process on the day were both up 3% or above 3%, and they both account for about 17.8% of the JSE All-Share Index. And I mean, on the day, industrials and resources led the day. So it's more of a Chinese stimulus and an emerging market story that we see, Braden.
Okay, what about the currency? What about our rand? We saw some fluctuations recently. I mean, at some point, it looked like it was going to be strong against the US dollar, but lost some steam. What's happening there?
So, I mean, if you all remember, in September, the Fed cut rates by 50 basis points, and the Reserve Bank followed by cutting rates by 25 basis points, not matching the Fed. So, which means that the interest rate differential favored the rand. That's why we saw the rand strengthen. To last week, we saw the rand strengthen to about 1707. That's the strongest we've seen in the past 3 quarters. And in that, foreign sellers of SA stock accelerated in the past week. As the JSE All-Share Index rose, then the South African rand strengthened. So we saw foreigners coming in and selling their stocks because they believe that we could argue that there's profit taking, but we don't know that. But there's an opportunity for them to sell. And as well, yesterday on the day, there was ADP employment data out of the US, which showed signs of rebounding after 5 months of easing. And on the back of that, we saw the dollar strengthen after the data release. So it's a number of factors affecting the rand, hence we see the fluctuations.
Yeah, let's look at the Middle East. I mean, we've seen Iran, attacking Israel just the other day. Now, Israel saying it's planning retaliation, global oil markets being affected. And of course, we buy our oil here in US dollars. We're going to be very badly affected by this.
Indeed, Braden. I mean, the Middle East tensions, if they continue or they intensify, the rand could face pressure due to increased global uncertainty and risk aversion among the investors, which would lead to a weaker currency versus the dollar. And this would increase the cost of our imports and further exacerbating the inflation risk that we have, seeing that inflation is under control currently, but we could see the inflation reversing because of the Middle East tension.
Thank you very much, Vincent Masoloke from Citadel Investment Services, for your time this Thursday morning. Now let's have a quick look at those numbers, some of which you mentioned earlier.